Welcome back in. It's the PressBox Fantasy Football Show presented by Glory Days Grill and Wise Markets. Ken Zalis joins us now on the live Casino Hotel studio. Good morning, sir.
Good morning.
So we had a little bit of an exercise last night. By the way, I guess for those of you that are just watching this, I'm Glenn, he's Kyle, and that's Ken Zalis. We had a bit of an exercise last night that was it was a very difficult situation for me to be in. One,
what was so
because
difficult?
we were drafting at the same time I was playing trivia, and so I was not fully committed to that. I was playing trivia. And then secondarily, I was reminded by John Proctor, who's also in the league, who's in my most important league that I care about the most, where he's also somehow the 3-time defending champion, which is infuriating. That I have the third pick in that league, too, as I had last night.
It's weird. I did 2 last night at the same time, and I had the 9th pick in both of them. It was really odd.
That's pretty funny. But
I was fortunate to have the second pick. I wasn't there for the first round.
Yeah, I mean, you can't really screw up the second
and I was
pick.
like, okie dokie.
Right? You're all right there. So I was in the spot where I didn't want to do necessarily things that I would do. I didn't want to give him any.
I got you.
Now, I will say there's a couple things I did last night that I might be willing to do in my other draft.
MDMA.
There's some, I'm always willing to do Molly, of course.
We're joking. This is all jokes.
Definitely not do that.
Joking.
Definitely not the case. There's things that I did last night that I absolutely would not do in my other league's draft. This is a fun league because there's no cash involved, and maybe experiment. It's like college. I was experimenting a bit last night. That's what I was doing with that draft.
Yeah, the second draft that I did last night was a new league for me. Somehow, I don't know how, but it was with some friends, and I did some things that I would never do in other drafts, but I wanted to see how it would work out, and I took the last article that was just on PressBoxOnline.com was the last mock draft that I put out to the world, and I was like, let's kind of get crazy. I'm tired of doing mock drafts. Let's do things that I've been telling you never to do.
This, right.
And I actually did that and I didn't hate it as much as I thought I was going to hate it, and I actually executed it last night in a real draft in a real league.
So what was the craziest thing you did?
So I went Kelsey Mahomes.
With your first 2 picks?
Yeah.
Wow. Wow. So when did you finally take a running back?
I think I took one in round 3, and it turned out to be Kerryon Johnson.
Okay. All right.
I did this. It was a weird league because when you join a league, I knew one person in the league. When we did our PressBox internal one last night.
Right.
The 3 of us have talked enough about football.
Sure. Yeah, correct.
That you sort of know. Like. Right. I mean, last year you kept on stealing my players. This year we were far enough away in the draft that did that. But Phil Backert, who writes the fantasy baseball, he and I have been together forever. And we were back-to-back last night, and we're texting each other. It's like, you son of a...
Yeah, I can't believe you did that.
4 times, he's like, well, you got me 4 times. I said, you must have gotten me at least 4 times. So I did... it's funny, because when I went Kelsey Mahomes, I'm like, well, that could work out. It's if Mahomes throws 40 touchdowns and 10 of them are to Kelsey...
Yeah, that's going to be a lot of points.
It's going to be a
boatload of points.
It's going to be a fun team. And then, I wound up with Kerryon Johnson, David Montgomery. I only have to start 2 running backs. Stephon Diggs and Mike Williams.
Wow. All right.
Austin Eckler as my flex now, which works really well if Gordon stays away.
Correct.
But I still have Tevin Coleman on my bench.
Jeez, yeah, actually,
I was like afterwards, I was like, I don't hate this, and I really would hate it.
I still
it goes against everything I've talked about for 25 plus years in fantasy football. But it was fun to do. It's fun to. I told somebody, it's like, we're supposed to have fun. I know that there are money leagues and everything, but at the end of the day, if it's not fun to do, I don't see any value doing it.
That was when Casey was. I consulted Casey throughout the draft, not last night's, but one of the ones I had earlier, and he was telling me to draft Matt Ryan. I was like, no, I don't want him. I don't like.
You don't like him.
I don't like rooting for Matt Ryan. Like, it's somebody that I just, maybe it would be Joe Flacco. I don't know, but I don't want to have Matt Ryan as my fantasy quarterback. I'd rather wait and just see what happens.
It's really funny because like everybody, like you think of last year for the Falcons, you're like, the Falcons were not good last year. This was probably a disappointing year. And then you go back and you look at Matt Ryan's numbers, and you're like,
incredible.
Holy F, yeah, it was insane.
It's funny because we're having that discussion. I'm like, well, if you don't want the guy that threw for 4,700 yards and 30-plus touchdowns, like, that's your call. That's your call. And that's what it's funny because besides for PressBox, I'm part of a website called Fantasy Pros, and every once in a while we write things, and they just put out an article that said some last-minute advice. And, and I said, my last-minute advice was two things. I was like, A, ignore bye weeks, and B, ignore ADP. If you like a guy and you think it's two rounds early, but you want that guy, take him.
Yeah,
take the guys you want to cheer for.
Right.
Get your guy.
No, I agree.
It's just. This is not supposed to be. Go get the guys you want and work it out later. That's why it's a full year thing.
All right, let's talk about some topics this week.
Yes.
Obviously, the big headline.
What happened?
Yeah, in football, of course, is Andrew Luck's retirement. The easy way that's a fantasy impact is you don't draft Andrew Luck. That being said,
yes.
I had somebody ask me this question. I thought it was fascinating.
I got this question, too.
Would you, in the 16th round of your draft, try to stash Andrew Luck in case he were to change his mind at some point?
No.
Okay.
First of all, I got this same thing with Rob Gronkowski.
It's a fair.
Okay. And my thing is that.
By the way, I think I'd be more inclined to do it with Rob Gronkowski than I would be. Not that I think it's a smart way to spend a pick.
Gronkowski came back in person and really said he's not playing football this year, pretty much. I mean, you would.
But he did still sort of say like
he said if his passion returns,
right.
But like he's living his best Rob Gronkowski life right now. So I wouldn't unless it's a deep keeper dynasty type league. If you in a redraft league where you only have 15 or 16 rounds, you can't. I mean, it's not. He's retired. It's not like you have an IR spot for him.
Right.
I'm not
like Kareem Hunt where you even know he's going to come back.
Right. It's like that. I don't think he's coming back this year in any sense of the word. I don't think he's healthy, and I'm not wasting that roster spot.
Okay.
Andrew Luck was going to be 5th through 7th quarterback rated, on most draft boards. So it's someone you could get somewhere in the 6th to 8th round, maybe in drafts. Why am I putting that guy on the end of my bench who's retired? So no, I'm not doing it. And if you only have 16 spots, even in a dynasty keeper type situation, I'm probably still not doing it.
All right, let me tell everybody really quick. You can catch all the action at your neighborhood Glory Days Grill, where they have tons of TVs to catch every moment of every game. Glory Days Grill, great food, good sports. Now, is Jacoby Brissett rosterable?
Yes. He's a QB2. He's rosterable. He's interesting. I mean, look at the guys that are down the list that we're taking as QB2s. Jimmy Garoppolo. Could Brissett have a better year? Sure. I mean, you can see it. I mean, as your QB2, I'm fine with that. I don't have him in that range ranked right now. I think I have him like 25th, so that would put him somewhere just outside. But Sam Darnold, I mean, that's the guy. I mean, if you have Mahomes, Watson, Aaron Rodgers, and you say, you know what, in the 16th round of my draft, I need a backup quarterback. I'm going to throw Brissett and hope. Okay.
Yeah.
I got no issue with it.
Could you find a better guy in that range with as high of a floor and as high of a ceiling as Brissett?
We're going to argue about the floor because I think the floor is really low.
Really?
I don't think it's a safe floor at all. But you would have, Josh Allen to me would be the guy that
because of the rushing,
right? That I rather roster right now than Brissett because of that rushing. But I think Josh Allen has the ability to have a really low floor because I'm looking at who are you throwing to?
how many starts did Brissett get at the end of the year last year?
got
6-ish.
Yeah, I mean he was okay.
Like 15 points.
He was
plus
okay.
Per
I
game,
mean,
it felt like.
Stafford, Garoppolo, Carr. I mean, he's rosterable. I don't.
Right.
I've seen people. I've seen people take, but I'm not.
Right.
I mean, we're not rushing. I mean, this is not a guy I'm taking before the next to last or last round of my draft.
Is there any real impact for T.Y. Hilton, for Eric Ebron? Like, my gut is that they're basically probably about the same player as they were before.
Not T.Y. Hilton's not. I mean, that's a special bond that he and Luck have. I don't
know what that is, but we'll get rid of it. Go ahead, keep going.
It's
not. Everything's fine.
Brissett.
How are the Russians doing?
Everything's good. We're not being taken over.
That's a video apparently of the Patriots playing basketball.
Oh, great, fantastic.
Why I would want that?
Okay, Brissett. I think the guy that it helps the most. And you sort of got to drop him a little bit because the offense isn't going to be as explosive. But Marlon Mack is a guy that I'm still interested in. I think they're going to rely on the running game a little bit more. You can't rely on Ebron now or Doyle. I don't see that as much. I think it hurts the passing game, but we got to see how much. Sometimes these things work out weird. Paris Campbell is a guy I'm now more interested in because he may have that connection with Brissett because that's all he's played with, during the preseason. Yeah. I think it hurts T.Y. the most. I'm not.
Okay, so from where to where? From what round to what round? Like, where would T.Y. Hilton have been?
T.Y. is probably a top 2 to 3 at worst guy. To me, he's now a 7th or 8th round guy.
Jeez, that is.
I mean, he's gone from the top 15 to somewhere like 35, 36, somewhere in that area for me.
Wow, that is
as far as wide receivers off the board.
Significant.
I think Brissett's still capable of throwing
4,000
plus yards.
I think again, this is not about being that he's not capable. I think he is, but it's who am I taking? Like, am I taking? Who am I? I'm going to take T.Y. and how much confidence do I have in T.Y. in the 3rd round of my draft? Let's say
third. No.
But that's what I'm saying. But that's where he was, but with Luck.
Sure.
Okay. Now I'm starting to go. Guys I can get in the 4th round.
It's like the Boyd,
Edelman,
sometimes
Boyd, right? No, he's not. He's not in that range for me. I'm lower than that. So then we go into the 5th round and things like that. So. He's fallen significantly for me. I mean, it's 3 to 5 rounds for me that he's.
I think I drafted him last night in the PressBox draft.
What round did you get him in?
5th, I think, 5th or 6th.
Okay, well, yeah. I mean, again, it's a 3 to 5 round drop for me.
All right. One other question, and then I'm going to get to some listener questions here. And this was something that Kyle dealt with the other night. I think the consensus is, if you're drafting this weekend, your draft really begins at number 4.
It does.
That's where the draft starts.
Correct.
The first 3 guys, in whatever order
you want them in.
The first 3 guys are the first 3 guys.
Correct.
Everyone knows who the first 3 guys are. You just line them up however you want to line them up. The draft begins at 4.
Correct.
With what?
Okay, so the safest guy at 4, okay, we're going to be safe at 4, is DeAndre Hopkins.
That was my suggestion to Kyle.
He's the safest guy. But for me and my running back guy, for me it's Dalvin Cook. Now, somebody will scream at me and say, you can't take Dalvin Cook at 4. Well, I want Dalvin Cook on my teams.
He's a liability, though. I mean,
how's he a liability?
Because he gets hurt.
Okay, well,
Well, I mean, your argument is that every running back gets hurt, and so everybody's sort of a liability.
Right.
I hear you. Right.
So Le'Veon Bell last year, before all the craziness, everybody was taking him in the top 3, top 4.
People were taking number 1.
Okay.
Yeah.
He misses 2 to 3 games every single year.
Yeah, that's fair.
Okay, so
Dalvin's been season ending.
Yeah,
I understand that he looks fantastic. You have to handcuff him. I mean that's just the way it is. I took him at 9 in the press box. I took him ahead of Devontae Adams, David Johnson, Le'Veon Bell, Michael Thomas. I mean Julio Jones. All these guys I took him over because I want them. I think he's
He's
number
your guy.
4 guy. And then we get into Chubb and Connor and Bell.
By the way, Chubb fell to me in the second round after taking Hopkins in the first, so it was.
I know it was
fortunate. Like you can't rely on that.
No,
but if you were to take
I mean,
Hopkins-
Chubb went 4th in this draft that we did.
So a lot of people that are talking about Chubb as being the fourth guy.
Look,
now.
he's got a path to without Duke Johnson there. He's got a path to be a huge touch guy every single week. James Conner went 5th. Again, James Conner was fantastic last year. Now he's supposedly in the best shape of his life because he really couldn't train for football last
given
year.
everything he was going.
I love it. Ezekiel Elliott, look, you can take him. I mean, the reports today are maybe he doesn't play for the first 2 weeks until they get him in. Who knows? You're rolling the dice.
He was
Him,
picked at 6th in the draft I did earlier.
he was picked
this week.
7th last night,
Yeah.
or auto-picked at 7th last night.
yeah,
yeah.
look, I'm not doing it.
I'm
I'm not touching
doing
him.
it, right.
I'm not touching him. I don't want. I'm out of his business. The Gordon thing. I'm out of that. I don't want any part of those guys. But I can make an argument for Dalvin Cook at 4 over Chubb. I love the offense. I love the offensive line. I love that they have a great defense. He's the only guy right now. He's not coming off the field on third down. There's no third down back there.
I hear you. There's a lot. There's a lot to like as far as opportunity.
For me, I mean, another thing that I wrote. I said I am all in on him. If I'm wrong, I'm wrong. If he gets hurt, he gets hurt. But if Saquon Barkley gets hurt in week 3, is everybody saying, "Oh, well, you shouldn't have taken him number 1 or number 2"? No, you're not doing that.
Sure, but your motto is hurt guys get hurt.
Hurt guys get hurt. I know.
Now defend yourself.
I'm not defending.
Okay, very good.
I'm not going to defend because I say that all the time and I believe it. But this guy's special. He's a special talent.
All right, we need 20 seconds to tell everybody about Glory Days Grill. When we come back in, I've got questions from listeners to get to. Again, this is your final chance before your draft to find out exactly what KZ thinks about everything that might come up during the course of your draft. So you have others at Glenn Clark Radio on Twitter. Hit me up right now, and we'll pose them to KZ in our second segment. But 20 seconds right now to tell you about Glory Days Grill. Catch all of the action at your neighborhood Glory Days Grill, where we have tons of TVs to catch every moment of every game. Enjoy $5.99 burgers on Mondays, $5.99 nachos on Thursdays, and drink specials throughout the season to help you cheer on your favorite teams. Come in today and try something new from our seasonal menu. Glory Days Grill, great food, good sports. All right, John from Little Rock wants to know, Ken Zalis, who is your top quarterback to draft in the 7 to 9 round range? So I guess maybe flush out, if we accept the guys that are going to be gone, right? Once you get into that area of the 7th, the 8th, 9th round, who's the guy that you want?
Jared Goff.
Okay.
You can maybe even wait around later, in theory.
You could, but if I'm saying the way I'd like to do my draft, I mean, if I'm thinking Mahomes, Watson, Rodgers, Ryan are all gone.
Right.
Okay? That leaves me Wilson, Wentz, Mayfield, Goff, Newton, Breeze. Let's cap it at Newton because Breeze is going later. I'm in the Jared Goff business. He plays in a great offense. Everybody's like down on Jared Goff. I'm like, but you love his wide receivers, right? I mean, like they have 3 legitimate guys that can go for 1,000 yards.
Right.
They're all being drafted in the top. The 2 of them in the top 2 rounds, and another one. Who knows where he's going? He's rising in Cooper Kupp because he's proved he's healthy. I want that guy. He's improved every year. He's got an offensive genius as a head coach who trusts him. He's a 4,500, 30-touchdown guy that I could get in the 7th, 8th, or 9th round. I'm in. To me, he had as many top 5 performances as Mahomes and Rodgers last year. As far as weekly quarterback rating.
Let me go to the bottom of this. As far as if you're holding on, like you want to hold on forever to draft a quarterback.
Sure.
If you're doing that bit where you're like, I want to be the last guy to draft a quarterback. What's like the cutoff for where if if you see this guy go off, you've waited too long, right? Like, where's the cutoff for you in how long you're willing to go and who you still get?
See, for me, it's tough. This is going to be really weird to say because I think he has top 10 potential this year. But if Lamar Jackson goes and Kyler Murray go,
then
you've waited a little too long. Now
in Baltimore, it's different.
In Baltimore, it's a little different. Yeah. But you know, I mean, Kyler Murray for me is like if I want to be the last guy to take quarterback. So if you see 11 other quarterbacks go, you're still okay. But if you start seeing, and it's more so the draft room. If you start seeing people start to take their second quarterback, you've waited a little too long.
Okay, but like if you're
like I can live with Rivers, Brady, Cousins, Ben Roethlisberger as my starting quarterback. I can get those guys in the 10th round.
Yeah, I tend to agree.
I got Rivers in like the 13th.
Yeah, I mean, hugely undervalued. So it's weird. I mean, in an industry league, I got Drew Brees in the 11th round. I mean that's insane to me. With that offense,
I've not figured out why.
I don't get it. I get the age, but
yeah, sure.
You know,
course,
I mean,
but, have you seen him?
I mean, I know. I mean, I just.
I also get that he really only throws the ball to two guys, but like he throws the ball to those two guys a lot,
and one of the guys never drops a pass.
That's true
ever.
Too. That is
so.
True.
To me, it's if you start to see Lamar, Phillip Rivers start to go, you've probably waited too long.
PressBox's own Luke Jackson wants to know running backs to target at the back end of the second round, looking at pick 24. So I guess that means he's got the first pick. Yeah, then he would come back to pick 24.
You're looking at Kerryon Johnson. You're looking at Chris Carson, Devontae Freeman, Aaron Jones. Guys like that are about there. I mean, I picked up Kerryon in the fourth round the other night. So end of the third round, early fourth. I think that's
makes it seem like he's going receiver first overall. You know?
Yeah, I know, right?
Like, why are you so worried about
getting another?
Well, but if you
want to solidify it,
like one of those two.
Like I mean, if you're following KZ's draft, you get 3 in a row, and so you want to know who the other ones were when you go Christian McCaffrey or Barkley at 1.
Right.
Who are you taking first overall?
McCaffrey.
I thought you told us last. Oh yeah, no, you did tell us that. Yeah,
I bet
you're right.
I bet.
No, you're right. You're right.
Ranking one of this season.
It was somebody else who said no. You're right. You definitely have.
For me, it's McCaffrey, Barkley, Kamara.
Joe wants to know how you feel about Riley Ridley and Mecole Hardman.
I think they're fantastic rookies. Riley isn't draftable.
Okay.
He needs.
I'm wondering if Joe's just a Georgia fan.
He needs injuries to play a significant role this year. Hardman.
So who's in front of just?
You have
Miller,
Robinson, and Gabriel.
Yeah,
and they like to run the ball a lot.
Yeah,
so it's like I haven't seen him drafted anywhere. Hardman's a late round flyer. There's so many mouths to feed. He needs an injury to Tyreek Hill to be significant this year. I mean, we're looking at a 25, maybe 30 catch guy with 2 touchdowns.
I mean, are they going to be throwing the ball to their backs as much in Kansas City?
Yeah.
Okay.
They like Williams in that
role. They do.
Williams and Thompson
are bothered about.
Yeah, I mean Williams and Thompson went ridiculously early about the draft yesterday.
That seemed like somebody trying to prove how smart they were.
No, he's going as early as like the 7th or 8th.
Yeah, he's going earlier and earlier.
Well, the guy who drafts Damian Williams feels like they kind of have to, or they should.
But you sort of have to. But it's like I don't know.
From Keith. Keith wants to know. Ask Ken how he feels. I don't think I understand this question. Keith says, how do you feel? I guess he's really asking why isn't Mark Ingram more thought of? I feel like he's going to be a guy that's going to be asked to do a lot in a team that runs the ball all the time. Why is he not higher on lists?
So he's not higher on lists because we don't know exactly how many carries a game Mark Ingram's going to get. You have, let's for argument's sake, say there's 40 to 45 carries a game, which I think is high.
I do.
in the Ravens. But for argument's sake.
Including Lamar Jackson.
Lamar Jackson gets 10, okay? Ingram gets 15. Gus gets 5 to 10. Hill gets 5. I don't see the 20-touch guarantee that some of these other guys, Sony Michel, the area he's in, Sony Michel, David Montgomery, Fournette, Henry, Mack, and Ingram. That's the 5 or 6 guys. I can see 20 for all those other guys pretty easily. I can't automatically get it from Ingram.
And the wild card, I think, while Ingram, I think, is the lead guy here, how much the pass-catching role in this offense is really worth remains to be seen.
Yeah, we don't know. And that's the unknown is why. I mean, if we figure out real quick that they're going to hand the ball to Mark Ingram 20 times a game, throw it to him 3 times a game, he's going to be a top 15 back every single week in the weekly rankings. But draft-wise, we're trying to guess. The Ravens are one of the hardest teams to draft from because you don't know. You simply don't know. I mean, who of the wide receivers are going to catch balls? I mean, the only one we really think we know, and he's got 3 heads. He's got 2 other guys that are going to play significant. Is Mark Andrews, but you got Hurst and Boyle who are going to be involved at some point every week in the game plan. So it's just hard to predict with Mark Ingram. That's the only reason why. It has nothing to do with how much I think he's a great signing. I think he's a wonderful back. I think he fits the offense well, but are they going to hand it to him 20 times a game consistently?
By the way, I'm staggered by we just got the details on the Jermaine Illuminor trade.
What'd they get?
Illuminor and a 6th-round pick.
To the Patriots.
For a 4th-round pick.
Fantastic.
I mean, that's a steal.
It's also weird, right? It's a little weird.
Right, it's a little weird, but that's I don't know. I have no idea what that's a weird.
They must like their guys. They got a bunch of guys.
Very weird.
I'm saying it's weird that
scratch
your head when the Patriots start giving up 4th-round picks.
Correct. Well, I mean, it's weird.
Well, they gave up another pick. They gave up They gave up a 6th for another
lineman.
trade.
Yeah. All right.
So they got their 6th back.
Yeah, but they lost a 4th in the process.
They lost a 4th.
I guess what you're saying is they traded a 4th for 2 linemen.
Correct.
Man, I just don't know that either of those guys are good. Yeah, that's part of the problem.
I know, but you're 2 for 1.
It's unrelated to fantasy football. I just came across from Adam Schefter. From Aaron. Aaron wants to know what you think about last year's crop of rookie wide receivers and who might be most primed to step up this year. He says he feels like he's falling in love with Christian Kirk.
I like them all. I mean, I like Kirk. I like Moore. I like Ridley.
Anthony Miller.
Anthony Miller. He's a little banged up, so he's annoying me right now.
Sutton.
I like Pettis. I like Sutton. I
like James Washington.
Not enough balls going his way right now. I was all in the James Washington business. I love his game. But they brought in Moncrief, and he's the starter opposite. Opposite Juju, and it looks like they like, Switzer, Rogers guys in the slot a little bit. So
people seem to be more in on Chris Godwin than I realized.
So here's
the Bucs are almost projected as being the 2nd most potent offense in football next year.
Yeah, they're projected to throw the ball a lot. I'm with you on the Godwin thing. I'm a little slower than most to turn it over to him when he's the number 2 receiver on that team. I mean, we can't say, okay, well, he was great last year. Well, Mike Evans wasn't there. I mean, those targets went to you, and those targets aren't going to you.
He's the slot guy. Arians slot receiver tends to be productive.
I mean, going back to the question, for me, it's more Ridley, Kirk in that order for the second-year wide receivers. Those are the top 3 guys for me.
Very good. Anything else that you feel like people absolutely need to know before they draft this weekend?
Need to know. No, not really. Duke Johnson is going earlier than you can even imagine he's going in drafts. So I
got him in the 4th, I think.
He's going. I mean, he's going where Lamar Miller was going, and
you always say volume is.
It is right now. There's no one there. I still think they bring someone in, and don't be scared of some of these wide receivers that you can get later. Mike Williams, Marvin Jones. Jarvis Landry. Don't be scared if they're your number twos. Wide receivers really deep this year, and I think that running back, as always, even more so this year, falls off a cliff real quick.
So get
if
after
you go
it.
wide receiver, you're in a whole heap of trouble as far as running backs go. You might as well just embrace the zero running back and wait.
All right.
And build your tight ends, quarterbacks, and wide receivers.
And just start taking flyers.
And start taking flyers. And start taking,
rookies that might end up finding their way.
Go get Eckler, go get Pollard, and hope that those guys stay out and build it that way, because otherwise there's, go get Matt Breida and hoping that Coleman, either gets injured, not hoping he gets injured, but his history is he's a little banged up sometimes, or that they have a 50-50 split, because the guys that you trust fall off a cliff super, super early.
All right. @Fans Fantasy is how you follow him on Twitter. You can still ask him questions. He'll get to them when he can over the course of the weekend. PressBoxOnline.com, of course, is where you read his stuff. And when we do this next Thursday, we're setting lineups, baby. It's real.
It's real. And no more mock drafts on PressBoxOnline.com. The preview on Tuesday for Week 1 comes out.
Love that.
Yes.
Love that. All right, Ken Zalis, I appreciate it, sir. Thank you for joining us here in the Live Casino Hotel studio. Thank you to Wise Markets for making this happen. Thank you to Glory Days Grill. Great food, good sports at Glory Days Grill. We'll be back with you tomorrow morning at 10 for the next episode of Glenn Clark Radio. Thank you for joining us for the PressBox Fantasy Football Show with Ken Zalis.